Uh, Hello children, in this part we are going to discuss about the respiration in bacteria, and this respiration can take place by two different methods which you are already aware of. So if it is in the presence of oxygen, then it is called as aerobic respiration, whereas if it is taking in the absence of oxygen, then we call it as anaerobic respiration. So if bacteria respires in the presence of oxygen, aerobic bacteria, otherwise anaerobic bacteria. There are a number of steps which take place in this aerobic respiration. So the first step is glycolysis, and in glycolysis, glucose breaks down into 2-pyruvic acid. Then the next is Krebs cycle, and after this Krebs cycle comes electron transport chain, and then oxidative phosphorylation, and in this method there is an ATP synthesis which take place. Now this glycolysis, it takes place in the cytoplasm, and that is the site. And in case of prokaryotes or eukaryotes, there is no problem in this step of aerobic respiration, because there are no membrane bound organelles which are required. Whereas if you see in Krebs cycle, what happens is that in case of eukaryotes, so it occurs in the mitochondria. So when it takes place in mitochondria, that is the site of Krebs cycle, but this mitochondria is absent, that is a membrane bound organelle in prokaryote. So what will happen? This Krebs cycle that takes place in the cytoplasm, because all the enzymes of this Krebs cycle, they are present in the cytoplasm. Now this electron transport chain, in case of eukaryotes, it takes place on the inner membrane of mitochondria, whereas in case of eukaryotes, it takes place through the plasma membrane. So this plasma membrane, it is the only membrane which is present, and there are no membrane bound organelles present in the prokaryotes. So this membrane only contains mesosome, which has a protein as an electron acceptor. So there is an infold of plasma membrane which actually contains these electron acceptors. They are basically the proteins which are making this electron transport chain, and these are present in the membrane of prokaryotes, whereas in eukaryotes they are all present on the inner membrane of mitochondria. Now the next step is oxidative phosphorylation or oxidative phosphorylation, that is the synthesis of ATP. So this also takes place on the plasma membrane in case of prokaryotes, otherwise in mitochondria in case of eukaryotes. So steps are same, but the location is different. Because there is no membrane which is present in case of prokaryotes, no membrane bound organelles, no outer membrane, inner membrane, no matrix is present, and whatever the enzymes are required, they are present in the cytoplasm. So these location is different, but the steps, they remain the same. So the entire plasma membrane, we have to see whether the entire plasma membrane is helping in the this involvement of enzymes, or just a part of it. So if we see the structure of bacteria, so this is the membrane, and this membrane has a at some part some enfoldings inside. So these enfoldings, they are called as mesosome in case of prokaryotes, whereas in case of eukaryotes there's a well developed mitochondria is present. So these mesosomes, since they carry all these enzymes and proteins which are required for all the reactions these which are taking place, the metabolic activities, so this helps in the all these reactions of respiration to take place. So this acts as a mitochondria in case of prokaryotes, and due to the why we call it so, because it functions like mitochondria due to the ATP formation, and due to the presence of enzyme that actually helps in this respiration process to take place. Otherwise, in case of eukaryotes, mitochondria is the powerhouse, because it stores ATP and it helps in releasing the energy whenever it is required. Now we see that the second type of respiration is this anaerobic respiration, and here when the respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen. So this is of different there are different ways where it acts upon, and the different names are given. Now if we see fermentation, so when the anaerobic respiration, it breaks down carbohydrates, and carbohydrates, they are broken down to carbon dioxide, then ethanol, and it releases energy. So that is termed as fermentation. Whereas if you see when the proteins, they break down to release energy, then that is called as putrefaction. And the third kind, that is when the organic matter is broken down anaerobically and it releases energy, so then we call it as decay. So this fermentation, putrefaction and decay, they are all in the absence of oxygen when the bacteria respires, and they result in the release of energy. So we have given them the names accordingly. Now we'd see the division of bacteria into four different kinds. These four different terms are given. First is obligate aerobes. So obligate aerobes, aerobic bacteria, means they can survive only in the presence of oxygen. That means this condition is must. That means oxygen is must and it has to be there, then only they can survive. What does that mean? In the absence of oxygen, they would not survive. Next is obligate anaerobe. That means absence of oxygen is the condition which is must, and here oxygen, if it is present, then it acts as a poison for them. So if oxygen is there, that means they would not survive because oxygen acts as a poison for them. So in the absence of oxygen is the must condition for obligate anaerobes. Then the next is facultative aerobes. That means they can survive in the presence of oxygen also. That is, normally they are anaerobic but can survive with oxygen also. So let us see once again the difference between, if we take obligate and facultative. So obligate term means that it has to be there, that condition has to be there. Matlab, without oxygen they will not survive. Only oxygen is there, then only they will survive. Whereas in case of facultative condition, they can survive in the presence of oxygen also. Normally they are anaerobic, but they can survive when oxygen is also present. So when that condition is also present, then they can survive, otherwise also they can survive. Facultative anaerobe, that means that they can survive in anaerobic condition also, but normally they are aerobic. That means normally they survive in the presence of oxygen and they can survive in anaerobic condition also. So we have seen here that bacteria can respire aerobically also, anaerobically also, and there are different ways of anaerobic respiration, that if it breaks down carbohydrate to release ethanol and carbon dioxide and energy, then it is termed as fermentation. Otherwise, if protein breaks down to release energy, it is putrefaction. And then decay for the anaerobically respiring of any organic matter, then that is termed as anaerobic respiration.